Police chief dismisses black woman's complaint. She reveals her FBI division badge. She walked into the police station at 2 p.m. expecting justice. What she got instead was the worst display of racism she'd ever experienced from law enforcement. But Chief Martinez had no idea who he was really talking to, and what happened next would destroy his career forever. Maya Johnson entered the Millbrook Police Station with quiet confidence. At 34, she carried herself like someone who'd earned respect in rooms where she was often the only person who looked like her. Her navy blazer and professional demeanor should have signaled this wasn't someone to dismiss, but Chief Martinez wasn't paying attention to anything beyond her skin color. Maya had driven from Atlanta after receiving reports about discriminatory policing targeting African Americans in this small Georgia town. As an FBI Civil Rights Division agent, she'd seen this pattern before, but Millbrook demanded immediate investigation. The station reeked of old-school law enforcement culture. Faded photos of white male chiefs lined the walls. Officer Patterson at the front desk looked up with obvious annoyance. "Can I help you?" Patterson's tone suggested helping was the last thing she wanted to do. "I'd like to file a complaint about officers in your department," Maya said professionally. "Incidents involving excessive force and discriminatory practices." Patterson's expression turned cold. "Look, lady, we get all kinds of people making accusations. You got proof, or just the usual complaints from people who don't like being held accountable?" Maya felt the familiar sting of prejudgment, but stayed composed. Every dismissive gesture was being catalogued for her federal report. "I have witness statements, photographs, and documented patterns suggesting civil rights violations." Patterson snorted. "Chief Martinez is in his office, but he doesn't have patience for troublemakers trying to cause problems for good office." Maya had faced drug cartels and corrupt politicians. A small-town chief didn't intimidate her. Patterson called Martinez. "Chief, woman here wants to complain about the department. Said she's got witnesses and photographs." After hanging up, "He'll see you. Last door on the right." "But honey, Chief Martinez knows this community, and when people are stirring up trouble, think carefully about your accusations." Maya walked past hostile stares from other officers. Chief Martinez's office was a shrine to his authority. Awards covering the walls, his desk positioned to make visitors look up at him. Martinez, a large man in his 50s with a dated mustache, looked dismissive before she'd even spoken. "Have a seat," Martinez said dismissively, not looking up from his paperwork. After making Maya wait 2 minutes, he finally looked up with the expression of someone who'd already decided she was wasting his time. "Officer Patterson says you've got complaints about my department," Martinez said, leaning back arrogantly. "Let me save us time. I've been running this department 15 years with 0 founded complaints of discrimination. 0. My officers are professionals who follow the law. Before making accusations, consider whether you misunderstood what proper police work looks like." Maya maintained her composure despite the condescension dripping from his voice. "Chief Martinez, I have documented evidence of multiple incidents suggesting discriminatory treatment targeting African American residents." Martinez's expression darkened. "Documented evidence," he repeated mockingly. "Let me guess. People claiming mistreatment by officers doing their jobs. People with warrants, in suspicious areas, engaging in questionable behavior, now playing the race card because they don't like consequences. I have witness statements, photographs, and documented patterns showing clear racial disparities in stops and arrests." Maya replied firmly, "I'm here to file a formal complaint requesting investigation." Martinez leaned forward, enjoying this power play. "Listen, lady, I don't know what agenda you're pushing, or what lawyer put you up to this, but here's free advice. This is a good community with good people and good officers. We don't have racism problems, we have crime problems, and we deal with them professionally. If certain people have more police contact, maybe that says more about their behavior than my officers." The mask was slipping. Maya pushed harder. "Chief Martinez, I'm presenting evidence suggesting federal civil rights violations and requesting cooperation." That's when Martinez exploded. He stood up, face flushing red with rage. "Federal civil rights laws. You people come here with fancy language and accusations. thinking you can tell us how to do our jobs. I've been protecting this town 15 years. I know exactly what problems we have and how to deal with them. I don't need some outsider causing trouble with made-up complaints and imaginary racism. You people. The toxic words hung in the air. Maya had her moment. Are you suggesting discrimination complaints are automatically invalid? That your department doesn't take civil rights seriously? Martinez was beyond professional restraint now. What I'm saying is I'm tired of people like you trying to cause problems where there aren't any. Tired of the race card being played every time someone doesn't like police treatment. Especially tired of outsiders who don't know this community telling me how to do my job. Maya pulled out her notebook, which infuriated Martinez further. So you're refusing my complaint? I'm telling you your complaint is baseless. Your evidence probably fabricated, and you're wasting our time with nonsense. File your paperwork, but don't expect me to pretend there's merit to stories from troublemakers. Maya made notes, enraging Martinez more. Anything else you'd like to add? Martinez made his fatal mistake. He leaned across the desk menacingly. Listen, lady, I don't know what scam you're running or what lawyer's paying you, but let me be crystal clear. This is my town, my department. I don't have time for people like you making up stories and causing problems for good officers. File whatever complaint you want. Nothing will come of it because there's nothing to investigate. And if you think you can intimidate me or my officers with federal threats and civil rights talk, you've got another thing coming. Maya closed her notebook calmly. Thank you for making your position so clear. I think I have everything I need. Martinez sat back, satisfied he'd put this troublemaker in her place. Good. Officer Patterson can show you the complaint forms, though don't expect much. That's when Maya reached into her jacket, not for a notebook, but for a black leather case. She opened it carefully and placed it directly in front of Martinez. The gold FBI shield gleamed under the fluorescent lights. The words Federal Bureau of Investigation clearly visible. Martinez's face went from red to white in seconds. Special Agent Maya Johnson, FBI Civil Rights Division, Maya said, her voice now carrying full federal authority. Thank you for providing such a clear demonstration of the institutional racism that brought me to Millbrook. Complete silence. Martinez stared at the badge like it was a bomb about to explode. Martinez stammered, brain failing to form sentences. I'm a federal agent investigating civil rights violations by your department. And Chief Martinez, you just provided more evidence in 30 minutes than I usually collect in 30 days. Rehook. What Martinez didn't know was that everything had been recorded. Maya's backup was positioning around the building, and his 15-year career of unchecked racism was about to crash down in ways that would shock Millbrook. Martinez gasped like a drowning man. Maya watched him trying to process his career-ending mistake. Agent Johnson, there's been a misunderstanding. If I said anything unprofessional, I didn't mean to imply. Chief Martinez, let me be clear about what happened. Maya interrupted. You dismissed legitimate civil rights complaints without investigation. You made racist assumptions about African American witnesses. You used racially biased language. And you threatened a federal agent filing complaints about civil rights violations. Martinez had gone gray, sweating despite the air conditioning. Agent Johnson, I didn't know you didn't know I was federal. Maya completed. So your treatment was based solely on assumptions about who I was. That makes this much worse, not better. Maya opened her notebook again, sending Martinez deeper into panic. What are you writing? Documenting our conversation for my Department of Justice report. Everything you said, how you said it, and the clear racial bias pattern. This will all be included in my federal intervention recommendation. Martinez knocked over his coffee mug, papers flying. Agent Johnson, please, we can work this out. I've served this community 15 years. I have a family, pension, reputation. A reputation you just destroyed, Maya said. Did you think you could dismiss federal civil rights laws, make racist statements to a federal agent, and threaten someone investigating your department without consequences? What happens now? Martinez asked desperately. Now you experience accountability, Maya said, standing. I'll complete my investigation and recommend the Department of Justice pursue federal charges against you personally for civil rights violations under color of authority. Federal charges? Title 18, Section 24(2) makes it a federal crime for anyone under color of law to willfully deprive civil rights. Based on your statements, I have probable cause you've been doing exactly that for years. Federal civil rights violations carry serious penalties, potential prison time, not just job loss. Martinez went completely pale. Prison? Maya gathered her things. You had an opportunity to demonstrate your department takes civil rights seriously. Instead, you revealed your own racism and institutional problems. That was your choice. As Maya headed for the door, Martinez made a final desperate attempt. Agent Johnson, wait. If there are problems, mistakes, I want to cooperate. I want to make things right. Maya turned back with no sympathy in her eyes. The time for cooperation was 30 minutes ago, before you revealed who you really are. Now the only thing making this right is complete federal investigation and department overhaul. Starting with your removal. Maya left Martinez and walked past the same hostile officers, but now the atmosphere had changed. Word was spreading about what happened in the chief's office. At the front desk, Patterson looked up expectantly, hoping Maya had been put in her place. How did it go? Officer Patterson, everything you said has been documented and will be included in my Department of Justice report. Your attempt to intimidate and discourage me from filing complaints constitutes federal investigation obstruction. I strongly suggest contacting a lawyer. Maya walked into the afternoon sunlight, her mind already processing the next phase of what would become one of the most significant civil rights cases in Georgia's recent history. She pulled out her secure phone and made her first call to her supervisor at the FBI field office in Atlanta. Agent Rodriguez, this is Johnson. I'm at the Millbrook Police Department, and I need a full federal response team here immediately. We've got a chief who just confessed to systematic civil rights violations in the most explicit terms I've ever documented. This isn't just individual bias, this is institutional racism from the top down, and I suspect this goes much deeper than just one racist administrator. The urgency in her voice was unmistakable. Rodriguez had worked with Maya for 6 years and knew that when she requested federal intervention, it meant she'd uncovered something that required the full weight of federal authority. Her second call was to the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division in Washington. This is Special Agent Johnson, badge number 479. I need to speak with someone about initiating immediate federal intervention proceedings against the Millbrook Police Department in Georgia. I have documented evidence of institutional racism at the highest levels, explicit civil rights violations, and what appears to be a pattern and practice case that's going to require complete federal oversight and possibly criminal prosecution of senior officials. As Maya spoke, she watched through the station windows as officers gathered in small groups, their body language indicating growing concern about what had just transpired in their chief's office. Some were on their phones, others were pointing in her direction, and a few were hastily gathering personal items from their desks. Word was spreading fast, and Maya could see the beginning of what would soon become widespread panic among officers who had participated in or enabled the department's discriminatory practices. Maya sat in her car outside the police station, methodically reviewing her notes while keeping the building under surveillance. She could see officers moving frantically inside, some making phone calls, others gathering documents. The atmosphere of panic was palpable even from the parking lot. Martinez had undoubtedly told them about her FBI credentials by now, and the smart ones were already calculating how to distance themselves from the department's discriminatory practices. But Maya wasn't finished documenting. She pulled out a digital recorder and began creating a detailed audio summary of the encounter. Subject: Martinez demonstrated clear racial animus, used coded language indicating systematic bias against African American community members, dismissed federal civil rights laws as irrelevant to his jurisdiction, and made explicit threats against a federal agent conducting a legitimate investigation. His behavior pattern suggests years of unchecked authority enabling institutional racism. She photographed the police station's exterior, noting the lack of any diversity messaging, community outreach signage, or other indicators that might suggest a department committed to serving all residents equally. Even the physical presentation of the building reinforced the institutional culture she'd just encountered inside. Within 24 hours, Millbrook would be transformed from a quiet small town into the epicenter of a federal civil rights investigation that would make national headlines. Federal agents would be interviewing every resident who'd filed complaints, reviewing years of arrest records, and examining patterns of police behavior that had gone unchecked for far too long. The media would descend, civil rights organizations would demand justice, and Martinez would discover that his small-town kingdom was actually subject to federal oversight that he'd never imagined possible. The most satisfying part wasn't the arrests or charges, but the moment Martinez realized his racism had met its match in someone with power, authority, and determination to act. Final rehook. 3 months later, when Martinez was sentenced to 4 years in federal prison for civil rights violations, when Patterson lost her job and pension, when half the department was terminated for systematic racism, Millbrook finally understood what Maya knew from the moment she entered that station. Sometimes justice comes as a federal agent who refuses intimidation by small-town bigots who forgot their authority has limits. And sometimes, the most powerful badge belongs to the person you least expect. Had changed in the atmosphere. Word was already beginning to spread that something significant had happened in the chief's office, and Maya could feel the eyes of every officer in the building following her as she made her way toward the exit. At the front desk, Officer Patterson looked up expectantly, probably hoping to hear that Maya had been put in her place by the chief. "How did it go?" Patterson asked, though her smile faltered when she saw the expression on Maya's face. "Officer Patterson," Maya said, her voice carrying the full authority of her federal position, "I want you to know that everything you said to me when I arrived has been documented and will be included in my report to the Department of Justice. Your attempt to intimidate me and discourage me from filing a complaint constitutes obstruction of a federal investigation." Patterson's mouth fell open, but before she could respond, Maya continued, "I strongly suggest you contact a lawyer, because you're going to need one." Maya walked out of the police station and into the afternoon sunlight, pulling out her cell phone as she made her way to her car. The first call was to her supervisor at the FBI field office in Atlanta. "Agent Rodriguez, this is Johnson. I'm at the Millbrook Police Department, and I need a full federal response team here immediately. We've got a chief who just confessed to systematic civil rights violations, and I suspect this goes much deeper than just one racist administrator." The second call was to the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division in Washington. "This is Special Agent Johnson. I need to speak with someone about initiating immediate federal intervention proceedings against the Millbrook Police Department in Georgia. I have documented evidence of institutional racism at the highest levels, and I believe we're looking at a pattern and practice case that's going to require complete federal oversight." But Maya wasn't finished. As she sat in her car outside the police station, she could see officers looking out the windows at her, probably wondering what kind of storm was about to hit their department. They were about to find out that when you systematically violate people's civil rights, when you allow racism to flourish unchecked, when you create a culture where people like Chief Martinez feel comfortable expressing their bigotry openly, eventually someone shows up who has the power to hold you accountable. And Maya Johnson was exactly that someone. Within 24 hours, Millbrook would be swarming with federal agents, civil rights attorneys, and Justice Department officials. Within a week, Chief Martinez would be facing federal charges, and within a month, the entire structure of the Millbrook Police Department would be under federal oversight. But the most satisfying part for Maya wasn't the arrests or the federal charges or the media attention that would follow. The most satisfying part was the moment when Chief Martinez realized that his racism had finally met its match in someone who had the power, the authority, and the determination to do something about it. Because that's what happens when institutional racism encounters real federal authority. That's what happens when someone like Maya Johnson decides that enough is enough. And that's what Chief Roberto Martinez learned the hard way on the day he thought he could dismiss a federal agent and get away with it. Final rehook. 3 months later, when Martinez was sentenced to 4 years in federal prison for civil rights violations, when Patterson lost her job and her pension, when half the Millbrook Police Department was terminated for participating in systematic racism. The people of Millbrook finally understood what Maya had known from the moment she walked into that police station. Sometimes justice delayed is justice denied, but sometimes justice comes in the form of a federal agent who refuses to be intimidated by small-town bigots who forgot that their authority has limits. And sometimes, the most powerful badge in the room belongs to the person you least expect.